Welcome back to another episode of Sunday Night Spookies, a podcast dedicated to exploring the mysterious and the spooky unknown. My name is Lex.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is episode 2, our on-location investigation of Hell's Bridge in Algoma Township, Michigan.
So before we begin our actual recap and getting into the actual legend and the history of Hell's Bridge, we wanted to explain the equipment that we brought with us and kind of tell you how they work. Give you a little bit of disclaimer. We're not experts in any of the stuff that we're going to talk about. We're not experts in the equipment that we use. We like to know. We like to think that we know what we're doing.
Yep.
But you are going to give a little bit more info on how the devices work, because you're a little bit more in tune with that than I am.
So we use an app on, I think it's on iPhone and Android called Necrophonic. That was created by Keith Weldon and Chris Rogers from Chill Seekers. Mm-hmm. It's being sold for $9.99 on both Google Play and the App Store.
So I know a lot of people are pretty skeptical when it comes to using apps, and we also use a spirit box and some other equipment. We'll get there. But first of all, the guy that developed the app is an actual paranormal investigator who knows what he's doing. And we are on his website, chillseekers.com, and he wrote basically an article about how the app was created and how, I think it's ITC communication works and why it works on stuff like phones. And so we're going to read just directly from the article. Like I said, like Louis said before, take what you will from what we say. We're not experts. We have found that this app in particular has worked really well for us. This is what we used for a long time. And we have not gotten stuff on it. It's not like we'll use it wherever and there's always, it's not like a hoax. It doesn't seem like a hoax because we've taken it to supposedly haunted locations and
gotten nothing.
And gotten absolutely nothing. And then we'll take it to somewhere like Hell's Bridge, like you'll see, or like we've used it in my house before. I've gotten some pretty crazy shit.
Yep.
So go ahead and explain exactly what it does.
Okay, so this article is called Why ITC Apps Work for Spirit Communication by Keith Weldon from Chill Speakers. Not all ghost apps work, but the ITC apps like the one I designed and many others do. Of course, if you don't really believe in ghosts or you're closed-minded about spirit communication in general, well then that's a whole other conversation. Instrumental transcommunication, or ITC, is communication with the other side using electronic devices such as radios, digital recorders, telephones, computers, TVs, cameras, and yes, even mobile applications. The term ITC was created in the 70s by the German physicist and engineer Dr. Ernst Sinkowski. To understand how these apps work, you must understand ITC and how ghost boxes work. I don't mean how they literally work. We know they sweep radio stations, or in the case of apps, sound banks, internet radio stations, but how they work in relation to spirit communication. What these boxes are doing is creating raw audio. This is comprised of snippets of sounds, fragmented words, etc. The theory is that spirit can manipulate these sounds by finding resonant frequencies in the sounds and altering the shape and resonance characteristics, thus providing spirits a way to create speech. This all stems from EVP. White noise is the main reason why EVPs are captured. You don't have to use a white noise generator because simply recording nothing is white noise. Think about using a digital recorder in a quiet room. When you play that recording back, it won't be total silence. There's ambient noise, which is white noise, which is random audio that spirits can manipulate to create speech, or an electronic voice phenomenon. So a ghost box operates in a similar manner by providing random audio, sort of like enhanced white noise. So essentially, ghost boxes and their digital counterparts are facilitating enhanced EVP spirit communication. This is the reason that the communication is so amazing and direct. And we also use the SB11 Spirit Box.
Which we're pretty new to. We just got that.
Yeah, that's one of our brand new toys. We've been using the Necrophonic app almost exclusively.
For almost a year.
Yeah, but we decided to invest in something that is kind of tried and true for all paranormal investigators.
Yeah, I feel because you see it on TV, you see paranormal YouTubers using it.
Mm-hmm. It comes after the SB7 Spirit Box.
Yeah, which I know Ghost Adventures uses it.
Yeah, that's a singular. That's a singular channel ghost box or spirit box, while the SB11 is a dual channel spirit box. So what the SB11 spirit box does is it sweeps FM and AM channels at fast or slow rates depending on whatever the user prefers. The white noise that's generated from the spirit box can be used by the spirits to verbally communicate with the person or the group that's investigating. And it works a lot like EVPs that are recorded on digital recorders, and it amplifies the response through internal speakers.
Yeah, that one we're still trying to figure out, like, the best
setting.
The best setting. Because, we watched some videos on YouTube of people using both AM and FM, sweeping one channel fast forwarding and one channel rewinding.
Mm-hmm. But then I also read we weren't really getting a lot when we were doing that in the beginning.
We were just getting a lot of radio interference.
So much radio.
And we still get some now.
Yeah, but you couldn't even differentiate between the two before. Right. But I went online and did a little bit more research, and I saw that when you use both FM and AM signals, it's a little bit harder for spirit to communicate with you because they're fighting against the two different signals.
Yeah, which I guess would make sense.
Yeah. So when I found that out, I pulled that spirit box out and set it to just AM, going in reverse.
You're in your apartment.
In my apartment. And I heard a lot of things in my apartment.
Yeah, I got a lot of Snapchats that day.
Lots of Snapchats. I was kind of freaking out. I was just playing with it, and...
But they were, like, coherent answers. We could definitely tell it was not radio interference. Because you could hear, like, the presence in the voice that was coming through.
And you can hear, too, in any recordings that we share...
We'll show the difference, like what's radio and what's not.
Yeah, any radio interference sounds like background noise. Whereas, like, presence sounds like it's at the front.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yep.
So, we also use an EMF detector, which that's my favorite thing to use. I always get so much happening with it. I don't know why. But that's just like a little handheld device. It can like track the electromagnetic fields, and it also tracks temperature, which that's what we use to track temperature. I know the SB11 can track temperature, and it's got like an alarm that goes off.
It's kind of a more obnoxious way to check temperature.
Yeah, and because like if you were holding the spirit box, that makes the temperature of the box go up, so your alarm is constantly going off, which is very annoying. Mm-hmm. But you also have some stuff about how the EMF works, just to clarify.
Yeah, so usually EMF detectors are used by electricians to to locate sources of electromagnetic radiation in homes or offices that they're working in. But it's also said to detect spirit presence, because ghosts are also thought to emit electromagnetic radiation, or they disturb the existing magnetic fields in a room. So,
I guess you can, like, if we're using it in my house, which is what we've done before, and you go next to my fridge, for example.
It shoots up.
The alarm goes off, the screen turns red because my fridge is a big electric thing. Mm-hmm. Same thing if you were to walk up to my breaker box. It's going to alarm and go off.
Yeah, or if it's right next to your cell phone and you get a notification, it's going to go off because your phone's emitting that kind of
And usually, I think I read somewhere, I think it was like the TAPS team that I like Ghost Hunters I read. They like had an article like if you use an EMF detector, a typical person's house should be between like 0 and 0.5 or something.
Or whatever, yeah.
Don't freaking quote me on that. Pulling that out of my ass, 100%. I just remember reading that somewhere. But that, I think we've had more luck with that than I ever thought we would too. Like when we first got that.
Yeah, and there's also ways to debunk.
Oh yeah, if you even move too fast, it'll trick the EMF reader into thinking that it's like picking up on something. Mm-hmm.
We usually like to keep it completely still.
Yeah, we'll like set it down somewhere. And that's what we did at Hell's Bridge. Either I was holding it completely still or I set it on the actual bridge and just kind of watched it dance around, which is freaky.
And that was completely in the middle of nowhere. No power lines even in the woods.
No, like, let me tell you, to get back to this freaking bridge, it creepy as hell to begin with. I think our GPS took us on like some weird dirt road. Because I was under the impression that it was like in a park or on a river walk somewhere. No. We we got there, and first of all, there's this random white van parked on the side of the dirt road
with all the windows covered.
All the windows covered. Like there was like a bunch of random shit attached to it. I don't know. And then we find an old.
It's like it looked muddy turnaround.
That
and has a sign that looks like it used to be for like
dumping.
A marked dump. It did look like that.
Like
but
if you've ever gone camping, it looks like that's where you dump your sewage. Like that's where like you would dump your camper.
No, it totally
sewage.
Does. But like the sign, it was like an old wooden sign, and I think it might have had a trail marker on it at one point, but it was completely blank except for a little tiny square,
like index card wrapped in plastic,
and it said something about
like the state park owning
like
this
Newaygo County or something. Is that what it said?
Something like that. I don't know. And then there wasn't a trail or anything. Like there was at the beginning of the dirt road, there was I assume a kayak drop off of some kind. Steep drop off. It looked scary. And then so we get to this dirt turnaround that looks like it's an old sewage dump with this stupid sign that has like nothing on it but this index card wrapped in plastic. So we're looking around and you see a tiny indent in the trees.
Yeah, very tiny.
Very tiny. And it doesn't like it's just a break. It doesn't even there's no like footpath really.
Barely.
I mean, once you get into it, like once you get in the trees and go in this little break, like the ground is worn down, so it's dirt. You can see where there's a path, but it's like overgrown and like
trees are falling over.
Yeah, like falling over trees.
Crawling over trees, crawling under trees, and like hitting the face.
Is like overgrown across what used to be a path. So you're constantly ducking. And like you said, crawling up and around and under and whatever.
Getting mouths full of bugs.
Oh yeah, gross. Swampy, gross, smelled weird.
It did smell weird.
and it was like about a 10-minute hike back there. I mean, I guess it wasn't really a hike, but it was like difficult to get back there.
Yeah, well, when you have bags of paranormal equipment.
Yeah.
And in our case, we were
sandals.
Wearing really not comfortable clothes because we were trying to take pictures.
Yeah, we were taking like the bio pictures. Shout out to our Instagram at Sunday Night Spookies. You'll see our pictures up.
Yeah.
But right, so we were because I fully was expecting it to be in some kind of park or river walk. Like none of the articles we read about it before we went were like heads up. I think one of them was like it's a kind of a hike off the trail or whatever, but they said hike off the trail. Not that there was no trail and it was just this random place. And so we get out there and this bridge looks rough.
It's worn. It's a worn bridge. It's metal. Bridge. It's bent.
It's lopsided. It's like
falling
collapsed
off
in parts of the river. Like it's like the river's not that deep. Maybe 3. Not even like
3 at its deepest point.
Yeah.
Where we were.
Super not deep, but it was like rusted out. Like the tree was all spray painted over because people had like spray painted dicks on it before, like in the previous pictures.
Oh yeah,
it was some vandalism happening. So it was like spray painted black, and it genuinely looked just creepy. Like
because the tree that they were spray painting was, I mean, mostly dead, and like it was all like the roots were all exposed and like sprawling out. Bark was falling off.
Yeah, and the bridge used to be stone. It was replaced, and so now we're gonna get into like the legend. You're probably like, why is it Hell's Bridge? Like, what the heck?
Yeah, where does it come from?
Right. So, like we said before, this is in Algoma Township, Michigan. We visited on July 6th. Hottest day of the year. Bad decision.
Very hot. Very buggy.
It was just gross. We were covered in mosquito bites afterwards. It was miserable. So basically the legend starts in the mid-1800s, and there was a man named Elias Frisk. Some of the stories that I read said that he was a priest or a reverend or something, but some of the other websites I read, it didn't say anything about that. But in the mid-1800s, this town, I don't know if it was called Algoma in the mid-1800s, but the area surrounding this bridge at the time, whatever it was called, had a child disappearing problem. They were noticing that a lot of the children were rapidly disappearing. So one day, a bunch of men of the town decided that they were going to get a search party going. And for some reason, they decided that the rest of the children in this small town were left to Elias Elias Frisk. Like, he was supposed to be watching these kids while they went out to search for the missing kids in the woods. And some versions say that he was already in the woods with the search party and they left the kids there, and some say that he went into the woods later with the 7 kids. That was a discrepancy I couldn't figure out. And he, for whatever reason, decided that he was going to tie himself to the 7 children and then tie the 7 children and himself to a tree to keep them from disappearing. I don't know why. Very
the
weird.
Logic behind that is flawed.
Very weird. And some people say, like in the articles I was reading that said he was a preacher, said that they decided to leave the kids with him because if it was something paranormal or demonic or evil, that he had the skills and knowledge to then get rid of that evil because he was a preacher. But again, some websites said that he wasn't a preacher. They didn't mention it at all. A few hours into the search, the men stumble upon where he tied the kids to the tree. And they were not tied to the tree in the same way. They were all hanging from the tree. All 7 kids tied up with nooses. And they stumbled upon it, and Frisk was at the base of the tree crying with his knees to his chest, saying, "The devil made me do it. The devil made me do it." And he was crying and he was freaking out a little bit. Obviously, the men were appalled by this. Mm-hmm. And it said that afterwards, they tried to hang Elias Frisk from the same tree that he hung the kids from. And the legend has it that before he could actually die, the rope snapped, and still alive, he fell into the river, got caught up in the current, and he was never heard or seen from again. And so that's kind of where they think that, like, Hell's Bridge, the devil from hell came and possessed this man to kill these kids. He claimed the devil made him do it. I think it's kind of where, like, the Hell's Bridge connotation comes from. But that's it. That's all I could find. I couldn't find, again, he was never seen or heard from again. Couldn't find anything else on this guy. That's the end of the legend. That's supposedly what happened.
Huh. That's an intense story.
It's a little intense, yeah. And like I said, I don't know if there's any freaking truth to that. But that's like a well-known legend. Especially like around here. Like, I've heard of Hell's Bridge before.
Me too.
I didn't know why it was called Hell's Bridge until I looked it up.
Right.
But that's pretty much where we started, was like, why is it called Hell's Bridge and what's the legend behind it?
I think it's important to note, too, that we didn't look into anybody else's experiences with Hell's Bridge.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because we didn't want to be swayed.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to have my own experience. Like,
I don't want to hope for something to happen that happened to somebody else and then...
Or even go and like, oh, did you hear that? I think I heard that. That other person heard that on the article, remember? Like,
sure.
I didn't want to be persuaded into thinking that either.
So I have been looking into other people's experiences today.
Yeah. Super prepared for this podcast.
Looking into other people's experiences today to kind of see what they had happened to them.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note here that we had already gone through our evidence. We've already gone through everything, annotated everything, made notes, and we waited until after we were completely done to find what other people did.
Yeah, we don't... Genuine experiences only.
Yeah.
So this is on michigansotherside.com. There's some reader submissions on there that I'm just going to quickly paraphrase. There was a group of people that went to Hell's Bridge, and they went there about midnight. And as soon as it turned midnight, they all heard a laugh coming from the woods.
That also could be like hobos. Like, or not to be putting there was houses really close to where we were, and I think in the audio that we have from the recording, there's a few times where we're like, oh, that was a motorcycle, or oh, I can hear that kid over by over the river. Right.
And you could tell a difference between what was close
and what was far away,
and what was like at the house, I think.
Yeah.
In my
and
opinion.
We also went at dusk. We didn't go in the middle of the night because we're two women.
and we love paranormal, but we're also kind of some scaredy cats.
Yeah. We didn't want to, like, I don't know. We're like, I just didn't feel comfortable.
We want to be safe.
Yeah. Going out in the middle of the woods to a river, to a broken down bridge at midnight. I don't.
No. That same group said that they heard children faintly screaming and whimpering. And one of the men there looked down at the water and saw a kid floating there. That's...
Spoiler alert, that didn't happen to us.
No, it did not. Spoiler alert. The next reader's submission is from a group of people who went up there with their voice recorders running, and when they got back to the car, they replayed what they recorded and found unexplained noises, including voices, a child crying, a girl singing, and really bizarre growls. The people in that group also found bruises all over their arms. One of the people in that group found bruises on their arm that were not there earlier in the day, and they were spread like 3 human fingers.
Like if you were to like grab somebody's arm at the top of their arm.
He says that he couldn't have done them himself based on the location and angle. And I don't think he'll ever be going back to those woods again, he says.
I don't think we got any bruises.
No
like
bruises.
We didn't check ourselves for bruises, but I didn't feel anything.
No.
Like nothing touched me while we were there.
The last experience is from somebody who actually commented on the story from michigansotherside.com. And he says, "This past spring, my girlfriend and I were in the area and I mentioned the legend, so we stopped to check the bridge out. I had already been back there once before by myself when I worked up on Island Road, and aside from an eerie feeling, had no other experience. This time, however, the uneasy feeling started as soon as we walked into the woods, and on our way out, heard sticks snapping in the woods. We get back to the truck and it won't start. The starter is fried. We waited for 2 hours for a tow truck as it gets dark. Dog in tow, never again."
That's kind of creepy. Because we didn't have car trouble, but we also had electronic trouble.
Yes.
Which still screws with me today. Like, I'm not a fan. I guess on the car ride home, I was like freaking out the whole way home. It's like half an hour from us, not that far. But so we're gonna talk about some of the stuff that happened to us. We're going to insert some clips of EVPs that we found, or like, I guess not EVPs, but like spirit box sessions where we have like definite, like, oh, we think this says something, and we'll play it a couple times so you guys can hear it. And then we'll also talk about like the feelings we had, stuff with the EMF detector. That's what I wanted to say. And then we'll talk about like our technological problem at the very end, because I think that's the most compelling of the whole trip.
So we're just going to jump straight into it. Every audio clip that you hear is going to be inserted in chronological order, and we're going to be cutting out any audio clips that we deem unspooky.
Unspooky.
We are going to be inserting various audio clips of things that happened at Hell's Bridge. And in between different audio clips, we're going to pop in and kind of give a general rundown of what we think was happening and what we think that we heard. And we really want you guys to let us know if you hear something different, or if you don't think you hear anything at all.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Today is July 6th.
Yes.
We're on location at Hell's Bridge right now. So far it is hot and there are a lot of bugs. So before we get too far into examining our evidence, we wanted to kind of give you an example of what radio interference sounds like on the spirit box, as opposed to intellectual responses or spiritual manipulation. You can try to hear what Sarah's saying in the background, but you won't be able to. And that's not what we're listening to anyway. What you should listen to is the spirit box, and you can kind of hear a little bit of like a whistle sound or like mechanical type sounds. And so we want to give you a couple of examples of that right now.
And before he could die, his body fell into the river and floated away, never to be seen again.
You might have noticed that the radio interference in that clip was a little bit quiet. You might have had to replay it a couple of times, but that's kind of the whole point of going over this, is that any radio interference that you hear is going to sound farther away than a voice.
Yeah, and whenever we get like what we think to be spirit manipulation, it sounds clearer, and it's got more presence to the sound. It's got more body to the sound, if that makes sense to anybody.
So we're going to insert a couple of short clips of radio interference, and then we'll get into the spooky stuff. Now that we've gone over radio interference, we kind of want to touch base on how we felt when we were at Hell's Bridge.
Yeah, when we first, it was creepy. It's a creepy, like if you, we're going to post a few pictures on our Instagram, but it was kind of creepy. It was like, it didn't feel crazy. It didn't feel super haunted. It didn't, like, my neck hairs weren't standing up. It was just kind of like, it's a weird place to be. But as we went into the investigation, could have been psychosomatic, but it got creepier and the feelings got a little bit worse.
Absolutely. Little tiny disclaimer is that if you hear clicking sounds, it's me being obsessive about the volume of my phone or the spirit box.
Yeah, and you'll be able to like clearly tell that what that is.
Yep. So let's dive in. We are here to open communication with anybody in the area who would like to speak with us. We're really only interested in speaking to spirits of light and love. So if you're not a spirit of light and love, then we are not interested in communicating with you. Once we leave this place, our communication will end and you will stay here and we will leave. Thank you for being patient with us, and we'll be patient with you, and we look forward to talking to you.
How about, is there any kids present?
Hello? We're going to loop that audio clip a couple more times to kind of give you some time to think about what it's saying. And then after that, we'll tell you what we think it's saying.
So to us, that's like super clearly saying, hey.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like 2 minutes in. Like, that was super soon. And like, I'm sure you could hear by our hello. Like,
yeah,
we were so shocked because it was so, like, even there, it was so clear.
Mm-hmm.
So since we're still so new to the spirit box, we were messing with it for a little bit. Our settings aren't really how we want them to be yet. Like, we're still trying to figure stuff out on that. So we decided after like 5 to 10 minutes of investigating that we switched to the app, and we got some pretty cool stuff on the app. Like, it was kind of intense for a little bit there.
Yeah.
So here are some clips from that.
Hello? That clip came almost immediately after we switched from the spirit box to the necrophonic app.
Yeah.
Within a few seconds.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we think it's saying, hi, first of all.
Yeah.
Like,
wind it back if you want to hear it again.
Yeah, it, like, for me, when we were going back through the evidence, the first of all part was so clear.
Yeah, like it was going to tell us its story.
Yeah, like, first of all, here I come. I got something to say.
Guns blazing.
Oh, yeah.
Is Mr. Frank here? They say you were compelled by demons. You did. Is there any truth to that?
So I know it's kind of hard to hear what I'm saying, but I'm asking Elias Frisk if there's any truth to the legend that he was compelled by demons to kill these kids. But the end of the clip is what's the important part, so we're going to play it again.
Is Mr. Frank here? They say you were compelled by demons. You did. Is there any truth to that?
I think it's important to note here that we did not hear that sound in real time.
Yeah, like the ghosts. We heard that after we were like sitting here going through all the evidence and stuff. Like it was like crazy because we heard it and we're like, we heard it.
Oh yeah,
because it's so articulate. The at the end is so clear.
Every part of that word. There's no question about it.
Yeah, it clearly says ghosts.
Yep.
So crazy.
And then we were kind of talking about it and we're like, is that an answer to the question? Like, no, he wasn't possessed by demons. He was actually just possessed by ghosts.
Or could it be like ghosts as in there's ghosts here, we're here kind of thing?
Parents and fathers. We kept hearing different patterns of numbers while we were out there, and we aren't really sure what the significance of those numbers are, but we're going to play it again for you. Parents and fathers. We want you to pay pretty close attention to this next clip. There, to us, sounds like there's 3 words.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to hear. But we're gonna play it for you, and then we'll explain after you hear it once. Does this have any significance to you? So to us, it sounds like the first response is the word up. The second response is rope. And at the very end, it says the tree. And it was crazy because we heard all of those on location. And we were standing underneath the tree that was used to supposedly hang these kids and Elias Frisk. And so when it said up, we looked up. And then it said rope. And then I asked, does this tree have any significance to you? Because it told us to look up. And then it says the tree. And it was just like you could hear us like breathing in at the last part of the clip because it was so crazy.
Yeah. We're going to play it again for you so you can have a new perspective on it.
Yeah. Does this have any significance to you?
So at this point, we were pretty convinced that we were communicating with something out there in the woods.
Yeah.
So kind of after that, we got a little bit more excited and asked more questions, and we got a lot more answers.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you stuck here?
So that clip, we think it's saying who is it, who's there, something with the word who in it. And I think it was kind of ironic because you're just like, are you stuck? It's like, who is?
Yeah.
What?
And the next clip is causing kind of some friendship trouble over here between me and Sarah. So we want to know what you guys think it says.
We're going to play it for you, and then we'll tell you what we think it says.
Yep. Can you say Sarah or Lex? Can you say Sarah or Lex? In my humble opinion, I think that it says Sarah. I don't think Sarah wants it to have said Sarah, but that's what I think.
I don't hear Sarah at all. I hear disturb. And it's so crazy because I can clearly hear the T in disturb. And you think it says Sarah, which they're not similar words.
No, but let us know what you think.
Yeah, on Twitter or Instagram, let us know what you think because we got to settle it.
Yeah, have to. This next clip is a bit of a longer one, but I think it's really important to play the whole thing. The most important parts are the first few seconds and the last few seconds. Mm-hmm. So take a listen.
That just said beer. Can I what? No, it just said beer. There's a beer can in that. I noticed that earlier. For the record, I did not say anything. I noticed earlier too.
So the first few seconds we hear very clearly beer. And it might sound pretty weird, but there was, I'm sure you could hear in the clip, but there was kind of like beer cans just kind of scattered around, and there was one right at the base of the tree in this like weird like root hole that was there. And we had seen it earlier, and none of us had like mentioned it, but when it said beer, I'm like, oh my God, there's beer cans. And we talk about it for a minute in the clip, and at the very end, you can hear somebody come through and say, they're gifts.
Like, they're gifts.
So, yeah, and we didn't hear that on location. We heard beer on location.
Yep.
But the gifts part we heard later, which, fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
That just said beer. Can I what? No, it just said beer. There's a beer can in that. I noticed that earlier, for the record. I did not say anything. I
noticed earlier too.
So at this point, I started hearing footsteps around me. Like, we didn't get on the box or anything. We didn't, like, there was no audio of it. But this was kind of the turning point where things started to get darker. And it was just, it felt creepier. Felt like we were being watched. I was hearing those footsteps. And there very well could have been people out in the woods around us. But it was just creepy.
Yeah, and shortly after she heard footsteps, I, within a couple of minutes, heard very audibly in the woods, ooh, or something like that.
A sigh or something.
There's very audibly, and it was on the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, and like I think in the like some of the audio that we cut out because there wasn't anything good in it, but we had talked about that like on location. You were like trying to figure out what that was, and we couldn't find something that would give off that noise
because it didn't feel like it was that far away.
Yeah,
like the bridge is only guesstimate 20 feet across, maybe 25,
maybe
tops, and so the voice was only maybe 50 to 75 feet away. It was not that far away.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't sound like it was like somebody in the woods yelling, having a good time. That's not what it sounded like. It sounded like it was
very close.
Like, even just on the other side of the creek.
Yeah.
At this time, we both started to feel heavy. Lots of dread.
Yeah, like the feeling just shifted so fast. And it was like, I'm heavy and like nauseous and just genuinely like I gotta get out of here type feeling.
I wanted to throw up and cry at the same time.
Yeah, we both felt it at like the same time and like acknowledged it at the same time. Like we turned to each other and was like, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and at this time we were kind of looking at our EMF detector and it hadn't changed temperature. It was a solid 77 when we got there.
And it was still 77, and it hadn't spiked at all. Like none of the numbers went up at all up until this point.
Yeah.
And then things started to change.
Can you do that again? Can you make the numbers jump again? Like I said, it could be a game.
So after we started feeling just not good, I had noticed that the EMF jumped a little bit, so I picked it up, and that's what you hear me talking about in this clip. It had jumped, and I was trying to appeal to the kids, the kids that were hung, I guess, as the legend has it, and I was trying to get them to come close to the EMF so they could make the numbers spike, and I was explaining that if you come close, it could be a game. Let's see how high you can get the numbers to go off, and if you can get the alarm on the EMF to go off. And in this clip, it almost, like, to us, it sounds like it's like, promise?
Yeah.
Like
it can be a game. Do you promise?
Yeah, like, promise it can be a game. And so that was just really cool that we found that promise right then.
Yeah. This next clip is kind of a little bit sad.
Yeah.
We don't really want to tell you just yet what we think that it's saying, but it's two-word phrases.
Yeah, and then once you listen to it, we'll explain the context of it.
Are you looking for your dad? Is that who you're looking for?
So about halfway through that audio, we think we hear, "Don't help," and please leave at the end.
Yeah, and like we were on location, we thought we heard dad or father, and so that's why you hear me ask, are you looking for your dad? And it's like, don't help, please leave. And it's like,
You can hear the desperation in the please leave.
yeah, and when we were like reviewing it, we freaked out.
Yeah, because it sounds like, please leave.
Yeah, like leave me alone.
Like you're messing up our resting over here.
Yeah, and then I felt bad after we found that evidence. I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah, we didn't stay too long after that.
No, yeah, we left.
So we're going to play that again for you right now.
Are you looking for your dad? Is that who you're looking for?
Shortly after we took this clip, you heard something kind of weird in the woods, didn't you?
Yeah, I get to the left of me when we were there. It almost sounded like something knocking on a tree. It was 3 distinct, like very clear knocks. And it sounded like it was on like wood, like on a tree or something. And then right after I said that, stuff with the EMF started to get crazy.
This is also where we switched over back to a spirit box because we didn't want to leave without giving the spirit box one last shot.
I know this bridge, and we've talked about it before, is known for the one tragedy. But I know that there's other people that have been here and have passed through. Was that yes, I know. There's another tragedy. There are people that have been here. We don't mean to diminish that. We know that there's been more that has happened here.
Death. I know that what was said on the spirit box is a little bit hard to hear, but on location there was not a single doubt in my mind that it said death.
Right. And we were talking about, like, when you hear me talking about, like, other tragedies, there's also been a lot of reported suicide at Hell's Bridge. It's not confirmed. We couldn't, like, I didn't personally go and look that up. That's just what a lot of the articles were saying, that there was also suicides in this area on the bridge, like, just some tragedies that had happened. And so I was trying to, like, see if I could reach out to anybody else other than just the original legend.
Right. And then we're like, we know that things have happened here. Death.
Yeah, it was,
I mean,
on location. We, like, sent shivers down my spine.
yeah, I wish that it was a little bit more clear. But what I do think could have been a little bit less clear is the next clip, because it is terrifying. It's the most terrifying thing that we have heard
By far.
through our own investigations.
For everything.
I mean, investigations that we've done in Sarah's house have come up with things dropping on the floor in an empty room, or like
Footsteps, shuffling.
Yeah, but never
A solid voice.
So we're going to insert that now.
Just take a listen.
Just take a listen. And yeah.
My heart is in my chest right now.
A couple things to add before we play it again. Notice that it cannot be Sarah because she starts talking before it even ends. Mm-hmm. Before the little groan ends. Is that what we're going to call it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know what else to call it.
I don't think that it's me because I don't know that I can get my voice to that low of an octave.
And it doesn't sound like you.
No.
At all. Like, I've known you for a
little.
long time and you've never made a noise like that.
Right. So we're going to play it again. Let us know what you think. Something kind of interesting about that clip is that it's right next to the microphone.
Yeah.
And so in the interest of debunkability.
Mm-hmm. Good word.
I don't think that it's me personally. It doesn't sound like me, but whoever made that sound had to have been right next to me.
Yeah, and you were holding because we were recording this on your phone.
I was holding it near my face.
Yeah, and you were holding it right up near your face. So if it was you, you'd think it'd be a little bit louder at least. Because you're loud in the clip. You can clearly hear you in all these clips.
And I'm not like...
Yeah.
I can't even make that noise.
We're not making weird ghosty noises.
Especially not, like, I don't know.
And we didn't hear it on location.
No.
We didn't hear it until oh my gosh, like, I can remember we were sitting here and you threw your headphones off and like, bitch, you gotta come listen to this. It was so freaky.
I could have thrown up right here in my seat because I wasn't expecting it, and
it's so clear.
I was just listening, playing everything back, editing the basics, and then all of a sudden I'm like, and
it doesn't say anything. It's just a creepy, weird old man groan.
Right. It's
not so pleasant.
Weird. So after that, we just decided kind of to end everything because it was getting dark. And
we had to walk back through the woods to get home. And I don't want to walk through the woods in the pitch black.
In a town that I don't know.
Right, yeah.
In a set of woods that I do not know.
Yeah.
So.
And it was just creepy at that point.
Yeah. And so our final clip, we don't really get anything like EVP related, but we wanted to kind of note that as we were ending the session, the EMF detector started getting spikes on it.
Yeah, and you can hear the alarm going off as we're closing out the session. And it kind of sucked because I wanted to stay and like, yeah, play with the EMF, but I'm like, we gotta go.
We have to go. So take a listen.
All right, I think we're gonna go now. But we really appreciate you taking the time to communicate with us. Really appreciate it. You did such a good job. I hope that you find peace. I'm gonna do the outro, just a reminder of everything.
Yep. Just a reminder, we are going to leave this place. However, we will be leaving alone, and we leave you here to your resting place. When we leave, our communication ends here. You are not allowed to follow us home or follow us to our space. Attach yourselves to us.
This is a precaution.
In any way possible. I feel as though we will definitely be back, and we look forward to speaking with you next time. Thank you very much for speaking with us. And this is the end of our communication. Given all of the evidence presented, we kind of want to know what you guys think. Do you think Hell's Bridge is haunted? I do.
Yeah, there's something there. Definitely there's something there.
It's not just a bridge in the woods.
Right, and I think with some of the, like, because we didn't get a ton, but we did get a good amount of, like, responses and EMF spikes that had made no sense, and there's something there.
Yeah, whether it's intellectual, whether it's residual.
Yeah, or even Elias Frisk, or whether the legend is true or not. Something had to have happened there, or I don't know why it's haunted, but it is, I think.
Yeah. I think even just given the fact that we got responses on both the spirit box and the
and the EMF was going off.
Yeah, and the EMF could only go off because of something interfering with it. We were in the middle of the woods. There wasn't even power lines. Right,
and our phones were your phone was in your hand, and my phone was, I was recording with my other phone, like video recording, but I had the EMF on the ground almost the whole time. And when I had it in my hand, I was at my arms were getting tired because I was trying to hold everything as far away as possible.
All of the times I think that we can hear it on these recordings, it was on the ground. Actually, it was on the bridge.
Yeah, the last few times that it went off, I had placed it on the bridge, which is kind of weird to think about.
Earlier in the episode, you might remember us saying that we had kind of a technological issue.
Yeah. We got there a little bit early before we started to investigate because we were taking pictures to post on like Instagram and our Facebook and whatnot. And we were taking pictures of the bridge. Specifically, we took pictures of the bridge because we were taking pictures of like the trees around it and the site in hopes to post it on our social media. And we get in the car, and you were going through pictures because I was driving. Mm-hmm. And neither one of us had pictures of the bridge specifically.
Not a single one.
Not a single one. We had, I looked in my phone, I looked in my trash, literally the only one that survived, the only picture that survived is I remember I sent one of them to my friend Rob to tell him that we were at this location and doing an investigation. All the other ones in our camera rolls disappeared.
And I know that I took pictures.
We took pictures of it.
The way the bridge is situated with the land, like you to get a good picture of both the river and the bridge and the tree, you have to be at a certain kind of like weird angle to try to get them all. And we were talking about that. I was consciously trying to get that angle and make sure everything that we needed to get was in that picture.
Yeah, and you and I took pictures of each other standing in front of the bridge. Mm-hmm. And those survived. Yep. But the pictures of just the bridge are freaking gone.
Insane.
We have one that I sent to my friend Rob. Mm-hmm. And I'll post that one because I still have it. It's so crazy how none of the rest of them survived. But that's all we got for Hell's Bridge. That was our investigation. It was pretty cool for our first one. It was kind of not a big investigation. It was just a bridge in the middle of the freaking woods. But it was close. And I think that
a haunted
within bridge,
20 minutes of where we live. So.
Yeah. And usually people will do like haunted hotels and stuff. And
we will too. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, we have plans.
We're really interested to hear what you guys think of this episode. If there's anything that you feel like we should do differently.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or even a different format for how we post it. Something that would be better on the ears, easier to listen to. We kind of want your feedback. And
yeah, all the feedback. Because we've never done something like this before. We've never recapped an investigation and then put everything together. Yeah, we never did a podcast.
Never recorded an investigation. Never edited an investigation.
Yeah.
Never edited a podcast and an investigation together. So it's new. And so
so new.
We just want to make sure that it's comfortable for the listeners.
Oh, yeah. So any feedback, we can, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Hit us up. Let us know. It's at Sunday Night Spookies, basically everywhere. I think Twitter is at Sunday Spookies. But Facebook, it's Sunday Night Spooky Podcast. Instagram, Sunday Night Spookies. Like I said, hit us up. Let us know what you think.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sunday Night Spookies.
Join us next week for our episode about skinwalkers and wendigos.
New episodes are released every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay spooky.